Hello and welcome to Seismic Soccer number 3. It's our usual end of the month episode where we explore all things around the world and our kind of few special topics that have cropped up over the month. This week we will be examining the financial fair play fiasco. Colin will be doing that this week. We piece on it, which has engulfed Everton, and we're soon to maybe see Man City and Chelsea get dragged into that fight. Hopefully, you never know. Jamesy boy is going to be exploring the Ballond'Or. Did they go to the right place? Was there any other deserving winners? And Gary is going to be doing a wee segment on Erling Haaland, the fastest player to the 50 goals in the Premier League, and is he the best striker of all time in the Premier League and or the world? And if not, who is? And then afterwards we'll be picking our plane to Germany for the Scotland squad, the 23-man squad, who we're going to take in, movers and shakers, and any wild cards that there may be. But before that, we've got some wee funny names about. Colin is Nigel Quasi, the real host. Why'd you pick Nigel Quasi, Colin?
Because I feel like we might talk about some Scotland players that got into the Scotland squad through like a grandparent route.
Ah, nice link. I thought just because you had the same nose. Okay, I got you.
Thank you.
We have James, who is Andre Iniesta. Why did you go for that? Absolute baller.
Hi, how you doing, Paul? I'm wearing my Barcelona centenary top, and in 2007 and onwards, Iniesta was probably one of the best midfielders around, and actually won a Ballon during that time as well. So, one of the best players to play for Barcelona and Spain.
Very nice. And we also have Gary, who is Gary Naismith, just because I changed his name last minute because he was just going to go for plain old Gary. Should have changed it to Gary Tank Commander actually, but I forgot to do that. And I put mine as Onana Ono, just because I watched the Man United game tonight. It was Man United versus Galatasaray, and he is absolutely shocking when it comes to saving a football. He's terrible.
And you had Jack Butland sitting on your bench and let him go.
He's worse than all. But I thought that would feed into James's hatred of all things Man United.
I was just going to say, I think at this moment in time, it's very important to highlight the fact that Celtic are not the only British team to be bottom of the group at the moment in time. So, well done, Man United, being bottom of the group. Long may you stay there.
Oh. Gary, how do you feel about that statement?
It's all right. We keep banking all the cash. Don't worry about it.
Just to clarify, I was speaking about Man United. I was speaking about Celtic. Long may it was purely about Man United. But if people want to kind of think it was Celtic as well, then that's their prerogative.
That's fair enough. Right. So before we get into the main topics of discussion, I'm just got a kind of wee warm-up question. So, like last episode, we were talking all things VAR, and I actually heard this question on Super Scoreboard a few weeks ago on one of the Saturday shows. So just totally copying it. So before the invention of VAR, was there any games that your team actually benefited from a dodgy decision in a big, massive game, and you could hold your hands up and be like, by the way, if VAR had been invented, we'd have never got that goal or that decision? Is there any ones that come to mind that stick with you? Colin, do you want to go first?
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. It wasn't the question I was expecting. Can you come back to me?
I will.
I'll pick it back off James's.
Do you want to go first, Gary? James?
So probably one that comes to my mind is the one at Ibrox where Rangers Celtic and Cadet scored a goal. He was offside, meant to be but the replay showed that he was onside quite clearly, and then we get away with one there. So I reckon if VAR was in play at that moment in time in that era, then Celtic would have scored their goal, a legitimate goal. But I think there's probably a lot more decisions there's maybe more decisions that went against us as well for fouls that should have been fouls and things. But that's the one that sticks clear in my mind regarding an offside that's meant to be factual. That Celtic should have scored that day, didn't they? Yippee.
That's fair enough. It's a brave admission. What about you, Gary? Anything that sticks in your mind that your team's benefited from in the past, or even in the present?
Yeah, I think this question showed me is that you remember the ones that are against you. You kind of conveniently forget the ones that went for you. I'm struggling to think of one specific one. I'm sure James has got like loads that Celtic have benefited from, or Colin's got loads. But yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to think of any specific one. I'm sure there's been a few that I remember maybe back in the day, maybe players like maybe Nakamura or players like that who probably on a few occasions maybe went down a bit easy in the box and stuff, and probably with VAR wouldn't have got some of the penalties we got back then. I can't think of a specific one, but there'll be loads, I'm sure.
Yeah, I did find that a really interesting question when I heard it, because like you're saying, you always remember the ones against you, but you never really think about the ones that went for you. What about you, Colin? Are we going full circle back to you yet?
I would probably still work out the same, because you don't have a player puts his head towards anybody, like they get sent off regardless of how ferocious it was. But there was a few I remember. I think Kyle Lafferty was quite guilty for it. There was a one against, is it Aberdeen, where like he was rolling about all over the place. I'm pretty sure Peter Lovenkrands did it once as well, where he really kind of milked a kind of contact with the head. So I think maybe one of them. I don't know if they'll be overturned now, because any connection with the head is still classed as a red. But that was just something that came to my mind while I was waiting.
That was Alan Thompson that did that to Lovenkrands at Ibrox. He got sent off for that in the 5-1 game.
Well, Thompson clearly deserved it then.
You can't move your head in that direction. You know what I mean? It's uncalled for. Thompson's breath probably knocked him out anyway. You, Paul?
The only one I can really think of is, Gary might remember this, when Morton went to Parkhead and we beat them 1-0, and I think it was a handball, or was it a handball, or was it a? I think Effie Ambrose gave away the penalty anyway, and I think it was a bit of a dodgy penalty.
Why was that not a bigger deal?
Because we know VAR, can you see it?
No, I just mean, why was that game not a bigger deal? Like that, I feel like that I can't even remember that happening. Morton beating Celtic.
Well, it was to us, but we got relegated that season. I think that was like one of two games that we won all season, which was mental. We had like the Foreign Legion playing for us. We had like a French goalkeeper. We had a striker from like, he was like Belgian / like Angolan or something. I can't remember what it was. Absolute bonkers. And then Dougie Emery, our current manager, scored the penalty, but I think it was a dodgy penalty, to be fair. So thank God that there was no VAR that day. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had that one good memory from that season.
Yeah, I forgot about that game actually. Yeah, that is strange. You'd think like that would be. I don't know. I forgot about that one for some reason. Yeah.
Was that during COVID?
No, it's way before COVID.
Did Morton beat Celtic at Celtic Park?
I beat 1-0 penalty.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about it. I'm actually like having to really think like back to it. Like it
was on a cup, eh?
Someone search it up. Someone search it up and see if it happened.
Yeah,
I just made up.
Because I can't even remember who was playing for them. Effie Ambrose bomb scare was there, so that's my proof.
It was 2013.
2013. So who was the manager, Lennon?
No wonder I don't remember it. It was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I never said it recent. It still lives long in the memory.
Yeah.
Classic.
Did Eddie Ambrose not play for Morton as well? But aye, is that right?
Aye, he got a dodgy penalty against him, but that was with VAR, and he still buggered it up.
He was one of the worst defenders I think I've ever seen in my life. He was genuinely. I remember feeling like tense every time the ball went anywhere near him. He just was terrible.
I remember watching him against Lincoln Red Imps in like one of Brendan Rodgers' first games, and he was absolutely all over the place, getting like skinned these part timers. But then I remember at one point he was like a really good defender, and like they were scrambling for him to get back from the African Cup of Nations to play Juventus or something.
Juventus in the last 16 in the Champions League, and we put him right in after I think he like came back the day before, and he gave away I think 2 goals or something like that. And then he was just crap ever since.
Where did he come from? Was it Livingston he came for? He voting for Livingston? Is that right? Did I remember that? Is that?
Did Celtic buy him from Livingston?
Aye,
I think he went to Livingston afterwards. But I think I can't remember who he voted from.
I'm just pretty sure when.
He's been all over. He's a bit of a journeyman. But anyway, after that wee warm up question, I should probably get to the socials because I totally forgot about that at the start. So wee bit of housekeeping. So after listening to that 10 minutes of us talking, you might want to find out where you can listen to us in other places or our socials. So make sure to follow us at Seismic Cinema and Seismic Soccer. We've got 2 pages. On Facebook, X/Twitter. We know it's all Twitter, really. We don't care. It's called X. Instagram, we just started up Seismic Soccer Instagram page as well. You can give that a follow. Threads, I'm really not sure about that. It's a bit of a weird one. And I'm trying to get TikTok on the go, but I'm just not viral. So I'm not very good at it. So, hey-ho. And also, if you follow us on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you find your podcast, really, that'd be great. Steadily growing in numbers, and we just want to build a wee bit of a bigger community. And also, make sure to check out our website, which James is in the process of updating, because Colin did a terrible job at it. I'm kidding on, Colin. I'm kidding on. I just had to get my wee dig in there first.
I started looking at it like the month before the wedding. I was a bit busy.
It's okay, mate. I'm only kidding. I always have alternate weeks where I'm like, nice to you, no, nice to you, nice to you. And also, if you want to help James and Gary, I edited that at Gary, I don't know why it says just James, to buy a new mic, you can donate to Buy Me a Coffee /Seismic Cinema and get them some nice new tech. So that is the socials out of the way. We are going to get on to our first big topic of the episode, and that is the financial fair play fiasco involving Everton and a couple of other big guns that could be potentially dragged into that. So, Colin, do you want to take it away?
Well, I've been trying unsuccessfully for 2 months to get financial fair play onto the Seismic Soccer episode, not because I know a particular lot about it, despite being a business teacher. I thought it was just quite a eye-catching story because it happened. It was announced when I was at work, and you know how you just kind of see flashes on news stories. So it was pretty crazy that Everton were deducted the 10 points because I think it's only happened with 2 other teams. I was listening to something, I think it was this morning. I think Middlesbrough got a points deduction at one point, and there was another team which has escaped me. Can you guys remember who the other team were that got points deduction?
A while ago.
Bolton.
Portsmouth, maybe?
I thought it was not Derby when Rooney was there.
I'm talking about the Premier League.
Oh, Premier League. Sorry, my bad.
When they were in the Premier League, I can't remember who the other team was. If anybody knows, then you can let us know.
Yeah, and before you go on, I just want to kind of caveat your kind of conversation there, because it's quite good to have 2 guys here that are experts in the kind of financial cloak and dagger side of the game, because used to support Rangers, so the dark arts.
I like that one.
Don't kid yourself. Paul, Celtic fans are more the financial experts than we are. I mean, every time our financial records come up, it's the accountants come out for the woodwork. You know what I mean? So I don't know so much about that.
We're not going to become that podcast. We're a nice, friendly
Oh,
bunch here.
right, okay.
Did you see that? Did you see that cigarette getting flicked into the big ball of petroleum there?
James bites quicker than I do. So anyway, Everton got the deduction for making too much of a loss over the last few years, and they were they were told basically like sort this out or there's going to be some punishment, and obviously they didn't. They continued to splash the cash or waste the cash in a lot of cases, and they've had the big deduction. But a lot of people are saying that it's not the worst season for this to happen, with Burnley and Sheffield United been pretty stinking. Luton have had a bit of a renaissance in recent weeks, so there's still a pretty good chance that Everton could stay up. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think it's probably good if it's going to happen. It's probably a good time in the season for it to happen as well. There's some time to sort of get a bit of a run together, and like you say, some of the teams down there are pretty bad this year. I was quite surprised at the 10-point deduction. I didn't think anything that harsh would happen. I thought it was quite a lot, but I wasn't expecting it to be that, because I think when it happened to Middlesbrough and stuff, it was maybe only like 3 points or something like that. I don't think it was as much as 10. I might be wrong there, but I don't remember it being that. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting, because now you've got like Man City and all that kind of I think they've got like 115 charges for financial fair play, and a lot of Everton fans are saying that it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But for me, obviously that case is ongoing, and they've not been found guilty on any of them. I think they're denying all of them, but I think it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because they've set the sort of threshold now. Like for what Everton done, that's a 10-point deduction. So anything worse than that, the punishment's got to be less. But it's Man City, and it's the sort of team that are, it'd be interesting to see if the rules will be applied in the same way or consistently, I think. But yeah,
I know you could just see them in the Vanarama League right next to Dorking United or something like that in the next couple of seasons.
Surely, it can't be like a misunderstanding over 100 times. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's obviously they've broken rules and should be punished.
I think there's a lot of controversy though, because everything's got done so swiftly, and yet it's on hold for Man City and Chelsea. But I think it took 8 months for them from the start of the charge to the end of the charge to actually sort it out to give them the deduction. So it was 8 months to investigate this one charge. So God knows how long it's going to take to investigate 100 odd charges over different parameters. It's not just the one thing for Man City. So I think that's where a lot of the confusion has come from, that it just happened so swiftly to Everton, and it's just taking so long for the big guns. I think it's just some sort of unfairness going on there.
I can respect Man City as the good players they have, but out of any team in England, I'd love for them to go down, slide back down the leagues. Talk? I think I can like a football talk about that was when they first. That's when they had Alano and stop bringing up my wardrobe. But I would We'll get more into more of this later when we talk about certain things. But yeah, I'd like to see Man City get their comeuppance. I like Chelsea more than Man City, not just sucking up to James here.
I've got to agree. 10 points is very harsh indeed. I don't really read into it to the extensive as much as other people have, but I think on overall what I've read, 10 points is a bit harsh. But like Gary says as well, they've set a precedent now. So I mean, so if that is the charges that they were given, then for Man City, who have got 115 charges across, I think there's 5 different sections or something like then obviously it's a more complex case. But you would like to think that it's going to be a heck of a lot more points deduction for them. It can't be just a fine. It's got to be something else that that affects the actual league table, in my opinion. And I don't think it's fair. I know these things are drawn out and all that sort of stuff, and it's a court case, it's a legal battle and all that sort of stuff. So it's all allegedly just now, and have to be careful what we say, I suppose. But I think at the same time, putting it in the middle of the season would be the best thing to do, because if they start, or say for instance that they come to their results and then next season they start off in minus X points, I think there's still time for them to try and win the league. I think with this team they have and all the rest of it, they've got a good chance of maybe winning the league still. Whereas if it's done now, then because the league's so tight, then I don't know if they will be able to, if that makes any sense. But for Chelsea as well, I don't think there's nothing being brought up in Chelsea yet, I don't think. But given what they've spent this year, that's round the corner, I reckon. But they can get away with it in some cases. Chelsea can get away with it so far because of the long contracts they put their players on.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got players on like 8-year contracts and stuff like that. That over time it basically balances itself out. Like I say, I don't really know exactly, but I'm led to believe, but what I read, that it balances itself out. And I think that's why some of the players opted to choose Chelsea rather than Liverpool during the summer, because of the security of the job security in terms of contract length. Perhaps
Not the manager though. You don't get any job security at Chelsea, do you?
Well, it's easier to sack a manager, isn't it, than to sack all your players, isn't it? Any team, that is. But yeah, I think some people unfair in Everton. I feel bad for them, to be honest with you. I did read as well. I don't know if I'm going off on a bit of tangent here, but obviously this is a case that's been going on for 8 months. Who got relegated last year from the Premier League again?
Southampton, Leeds, and Leicester.
So they were talking about going to court as well, because if the point deduction was put in place at that moment in time, they would have been saved. And
that's so petty. I think Southampton fans were like, we were absolutely awful. Like we don't even want to entertain that. Do you know what I mean?
I know it's all if buts and maybes into it, I reckon. But I think the financial fair play, they've set obviously a threshold now, a precedent that they've got to kind of stamp it out. You can't just do that for Everton because they're a so-called wee team. I mean, every team has to be treated the same.
They're one of the oldest teams in England.
I mean, I don't mean it that way. I mean in terms of like Man City have got all the money, Newcastle got all the money, Man United and all that. So Everton will seem to be one of the more lucrative clubs, if you know what I mean. So even though they obviously we've got prestige with them on their side, I just think going for Everton was a bit of an easy target for them, to be honest with you.
I just feel bad for Everton because they've been stung by this financial fair play, and I feel like they've not bought MD that good except probably Nathan Patterson. You look at their team, you're like, they're pretty naff. They've still got 72-year-old Ashley Young playing at right back.
Strikes of the day.
Oh, you have an Everton top, don't you?
I've got several actually. Yes, I do.
You get family friends that are Everton fans, don't you?
Hey, don't talk about my wardrobe and talk about my friends.
It's a family.
Right, the Toffees are sad. The Toffees are sad. Moving on.
No, just one last thing. We'll talk about it. Man City. If they do get a points deduction, I hope it's on the last day of the season, and they've got all their T-shirts printed out, the banners printed out for Championes and that, and then the FA are just like, bam, 100-point deduction. There you go. There's your dinner.
That would be good. Actually, I'd quite like that.
I'd do that. I would deal with that. So moving on from financial fair play, we are going on to our second topic.
Was it that boring in the end, Paul?
Aye. Maybe let's talk about finances, man. We'll talk about goals and stuff, goals and players. So from the mediocrity of Everton's squad, we're going to the best players in the world. And the players that were up for the Ballon d'Or and the winners and potential of the potential players that could have won it. So, James the boy, do you want to take it away for the Ballon d'Or segment?
Aye, no problem, man. So I thought the Ballon d'Or would be a good topic. It's been about a month or so since the Lionel Messi won the award, but it did bring its kind of controversy and a wee bit of squabbling and that sort of stuff. So I was kind of wanting to find out what your opinions were. So Messi won the award, and there were quite a few contenders in there. So Erling Haaland being the obvious one in terms of what he had won and what kind of his ratio was and things like that in terms of goals and assists. I did a wee bit of research on this, being my topic, and it's over a course of a season. Now, there's a lot of people who disagreed with the fact that Messi won it because he played for PSG, didn't he? Then he moved to the MLS into Miami, and then he won the World Cup. But a lot of people seen that it wasn't enough, that going to the MLS, it wasn't as a competitive league, and all that sort of stuff. And it brought it put a sour taste in people's mouths, I think. In my opinion, I'm a Messi fanboy. I am always going to defend the boy. One of the best players I've ever seen live. I mentioned before, I've seen him at Ibrox when he played for Barcelona. It was just amazing. I think he pegged about 3 Rangers players and all that sort of stuff. It was just amazing to see. And obviously, I like Barcelona. I've been there. I went to the stadium and all that sort of stuff. And I just, it's for me, Messi was always going to win it. As soon as he won the World Cup, he was always going to win it. It was destined for him to win that. But in the flip side of that coin, I do think that Erling Haaland was in for a good shout of it. Now, I looked at the stats on this.
Yeah.
So, Erling Haaland, the 22-23 season, 56 goals, 9 assists. He won the Champions League, the Premier League and the FA Cups. He done the treble. The Man City were, really wanted to match Manchester United's treble when we spoke about that in one of the earlier pods. So that was his goal to assist ratio and what he won. Look at Messi, he's got 42 goals over the course of the season over 3 clubs. 2 clubs rather, sorry, and 26 assists in that. He won the World Cup, he won the Ligue 1, and then he won I think it was supposed to be the French FA Cup as well. So obviously they've won 3 trophies each. Messi scored a lot more goals. No, he scored less goals, but he had more assists. So I suppose when you look at the stats, Messi's all-round game, in my opinion, is a hell of a lot better than what Haaland brings. That's my opinion. You can see his assists as well. He brings more people into the game. He's overall a more kind of exciting player to watch. So, cut a long story short, I think Messi deserved the Ballon d'Or, and for me, he's the greatest of all time, without a shadow of a doubt. So I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to go to Paul first.
Who was in the shortlist again?
Shortlist. So it was quite a long. So it had Messi, Haaland, Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Vinny, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, Gundogan, and the boy from Napoli. I can't pronounce his name.
Keris, blah, blah, blah.
The Georgian.
The Georgian boy.
Aye. And then Alvarez in Man City, and then Big Ram Lewandowski.
Mo
So
Salah not in there.
Salah finished. Salah, I don't even see him on the list.
I don't know. The Ballon d'Or just feels like one kind of big popularity contest, like who you're going to suck up to the most kind of thing when it comes to these players. Because there's some weird ones that always seem to sneak in there.
Mo Salah came 11th, just to put that in there for you. Sorry, Colin.
So like see some of the characters in that Ballon d'Or, like I hate them. Like that Georgian boy, he's a wee crybaby. Hate him. I watched him in the Scotland game and he was just diving all over the place. He is a cracking player, but he was diving all over the place. Rodri's a bad loser when he does lose. Mbappe seems to just have the worst attitude in the world. It seems to be.
He's like Neymar reincarnated, isn't he?
Oh, I know. Like, I mean, half of them had broken legs. I mean, sorry. Anyway, the Messi v Haaland is a difficult one because, like you're saying, one's an all-out goal scorer, so it's probably a bit selfish in this game. He's only got 9 assists, but Messi does have almost the same amount of goals, but way more assists. See those stats? Are some of them when he was playing in America as well? Like the goals and that
across France and America.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. So MLS a bit of it's not as good a league as the Premier League.
Yeah.
So that's why people might think, oh, wait a minute, he's playing the MLS. My granddad could score in the MLS. That means so.
Do you know what made the farce that Henry never won it?
Here we go.
That's true, and that might come in. That might come into the Haaland segment. But
I know you don't like Arsenal, James, but you can't deny Henry's one of the greatest of all time.
No, he played for Barcelona too. He's brilliant for Barca, man. You know what I mean? So I can't disagree with that.
So I don't know. I think personally, I would go for Haaland because I just feel like the French league and the American league aren't that great. Like the standard, like you watch them on TV and that, it's not great to watch. Whereas Haaland done it across the Champions League and across England. So I don't know. I think Haaland just edges it for me, but not by much. But Messi is great. He's won it so many times, and I think maybe this season is the one time I thought maybe he just didn't do enough. At the peak of his game.
Would you not argue the fact he pretty much dragged Argentina to the World Cup? Did he not?
Aye, but like, it wasn't exactly plain sailing for him the whole time either. Like he lost that game against. Did they lose a game against Saudi Arabia? Didn't they?
Did I?
And then I don't know. Like I suppose it does kind of just shine a light on him because they won the World Cup. But so if they had lost the World Cup in the final, would they have got the Ballon d'Or?
Probably not, to be honest with you.
But I don't remember him being that spectacular in the final either. I remember him like doing all right, but I don't remember him single-handedly winning it for him, if you know what I mean. So because the team won, he gets the Ballon d'Or, you know what I mean? It's a bit of a weird thing to judge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's one each then. So one for Messi, one for Haaland. We've got yourself, Gary. What are you thinking?
So I'm a massive Messi fan, and whenever anybody in the past has said, I don't know if he should have won the Ballon d'Or this year, when he has, I've always defended it because I think he sets such high standards that if he fell even below them, like slightly, it was almost like some people thought he hadn't quite had as good a season as he had like in years gone by and stuff. But this is the first season I think I probably disagree with him getting it. Probably. The reason I think is just I've kind of lost track of, or I don't know if I fully understand what Ballon d'Ors get given for these days, because I always understood it to be who's been the best player in the world for the last season, the best player on the planet. And now it seems to be like when you see people like talking about this online and stuff, they say, well, such and such won the Champions League, and they start listing like team achievements as a reason for like one person to get what to me is an individual award, and that's where I'm a bit confused as to what actually gets what gets you a Ballon d'Or these days. So I think this is the first season that I probably don't agree that Messi should have got it. I think just because I don't think I love Messi. I was over the moon when he won the World Cup. It was brilliant. But if I'm if you're asking me, was he been the best player in the world over the last year? I don't know if he has. I think in the World Cup, I thought he was great. I thought he played well. I think Mbappe probably had a slightly better World Cup, hat-trick in the final and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but I think if France had won it, he might be, as you said, Paul, might be looking at a different Ballon d'Or winner. And I think probably going to the MLS and what he did, well, granted, I don't watch PSG every week and I don't watch French football, but I don't think it was like, I don't think he was brilliant in the French. I think he was just pretty good and does what Messi does, and it wasn't doing anything that was spectacular there. Or assists probably, but that's what you expect. So I think probably Haaland or Mbappe I probably would have given it to. Maybe Haaland just because, let's say we'll come on to Haaland later and stuff, and where I think obviously his game's lacking and things like that. But I just think if the Ballon d'Or's for the best player in the world over the last season, I don't think that's been Messi. If it's the biggest moment, if it's the biggest sort of what everyone will remember the season for, then him with the World Cup is it. And then if that's what he gets your Ballon d'Or, then he deserves it. It's amazing at his age that he's still even he's still on the threshold of getting it, and it's debatable either way, because not many players at 35, 36, whatever he is, can go and win a World Cup and win a Ballon d'Or. And but I think, that's probably the first season that I wouldn't have given it to Messi, personally.
That's fair enough. Just out of interest, actually, so Messi played 7 games in the World Cup. He scored 7 goals and he had 3 assists. So he scored in every game he played. So
goal a game.
And that probably comes back to my point about like I think he's the best player ever, and it's the standards are so high. So probably like Mbappe or other players don't have to do as much to sort of catch your eye these days, like as Messi. So when you read those stats, then it's difficult to argue that anybody had a better World Cup than him. But I guess that's just my memory, like Mbappe in the final, kind of dragging France back into it.
To be fair, scoring a hat-trick in the final, losing, and then it's a bit heartbreaking for him. I don't really mind Mbappe, to be honest with you, but that's a bit harsh to lose the final. I'm glad they did. I mean, I did cheer on Argentina when they did win. So that's 2-1 for Haaland then. So, Colin, you can either sink Messi here or you could equalise. What is your thoughts?
I'm just going to tear this whole thing apart.
Here we go, Jack Butland.
I like
First of all, I'm not a big fan of, as Paul called it, a popularity contest. I'm not a big fan of it in general because it just is a bit random. Like I was walking to work today. I was listening to this guy talking about like the history of the Ballon d'Or and like some of the winners, and like we talked about World Cup winners. It seems to be kind of biased towards people that win the World Cup that year. Like Fabio Cannavaro, who was Italy captain in 2006, he won it then as well, and like great defender, but it's quite random, isn't it, when a centre back wins it, and then Luka Modric won it the year in 2018, I think it was, when Croatia got to the World Cup final. So it does seem heavily biased towards the World Cup, and I don't know, like, do you think like Messi and Ronaldo were winning, like kind of sharing it for like years and years and years? There was a lot of good players in that time that didn't really get a sniff because like every single year it was just the top 2, and even if Messi or Ronaldo hadn't had the best years by their standards, they were always kind of guaranteed in the top 2 spots. I think there was a year it was like Xavi was he in the top 3 at one point?
Lewandowski as well, when he had that amazing year. He scored like a hat-trick every game almost. He wasn't even getting a sniff.
It's a bit like, when they do like the team of the season, and like it's usually like quite a lot of Rangers and Celtic players, and then in England, I feel like even I think sometimes in England, like Man City or Liverpool or Chelsea players, they quite often get in the team of the season when they've not actually been that great by their standards, and there was other players in lesser teams that were better. I don't know what you guys think about that in terms of like the team of the season comparison.
Mm-hmm. No, I get you, because it just does seem to be like the same names all the time.
Same people all the time, yeah.
And then you get pure random ones like Jorginho, who can only pass sideways, and he's like one of the best players in the world, apparently.
It's like, so yeah, I'm not a big fan of the concept of the Ballon d'Or in general. And mate, I've got a certain bias here. I don't particularly like Haaland. So he really upset my pal's wee boy. So McNeilage Paul, his son's a big City fan. And he goes down to the City game sometimes, and they were out waiting on photographs because he knows he's this kind of guy, just always finds the autographs. And waiting out for ages and ages trying to get Haaland's autograph. Haaland sees kids standing there waiting on the autographs, shoots away without even stopping. And then Alvarez, I think it was Alvarez, he stopped and signed them all. So I'm heavily biased against Haaland because he upset my pal's wee boy. I just can't shake it now. Like anytime I see him, I just think he's big and gangly. It's like,
But then you need to think, Colin, would Messi do the same?
No, I don't think he would.
You mentioned that. I'm going a bit off topic here, but it's with Haaland. Do you not think Haaland looks like a 80s action hero bad guy? Just like that. They say shit like she's been bloody Die Hard or something like that, man. You know what I mean?
Right, so I've got a couple of points in it.
I always thought it looks like Vigo from Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, he does. You go the Carpathian.
I've got a couple of thoughts on Haaland. I don't deny he's a good goal scorer, but do you not think he seems to flatter to deceive on the international stage? Do you not think if he was that great, like best of all time, he could take a team like Norway who have got good players like Odegaard and kind of bring them up a level? I don't think Norway seem to do particularly well.
Yeah. Plus, you see the players that surround him at Man City, like everyone can whip a ball in.
I would score 15 goals a season at Man City.
Yeah. So it's a hard one to judge, but you need to have the quality to finish it. So it's one of those things like he has getting good service, but he's also got the quality to finish a good service. So
I'm heavily biased because of that story, but I just really don't like him. So yeah, he's not getting my vote. I'm the same. I loved Messi winning the World Cup. If it was based just on the World Cup, I can see it. But as you said, he was never really that great at PSG. Like he never really replicated his Barcelona form, as far as I'm aware, at PSG. I don't know if it's just the state they were in. And as you said, when he's playing in America, can they really? I know there's no point really discussing it. It was all based on the World Cup, wasn't it? There wasn't really. There's a player I've got in mind. Because when I was thinking of like who I think had been like a really good player the whole year, and I think he's made a poor transfer move. I always thought anytime I watched City ironically play, I always thought Gundogan last season was like a standout, particularly in Europe. Just some of the goals he scored in like the FA Cup final, he was just like he used to be more of a defensive midfielder, but last season he was just piling them in. Like I think he's been a big loss to City. I think he's one that. He maybe would have got my vote the overall year. I think he was like the standout player in the best team in Europe that season. I'm not saying he's better than Messi career-wise. I'm just saying on that season, I think he was the standout player. Don't know what you guys think on him.
He always scored cracking goals, didn't he, as well, man? He scored a rubbish goal. He was always like...
important goals too.
Goals. I think he was their best player last season, probably. Their talisman.
I couldn't.
He's a captain as well, wasn't
he? Aye.
Yeah.
So he would get. I know I've ruined the whole Haaland versus Messi contest, but I generally would go for Gundogan as the best player, like across the kind of best leagues last year.
That's fair. It's good to have something different as well. Do you know what I mean? I think it's not a bad shout at all. He scored important goals. For me, though, he didn't always play for Man City. I think he was maybe it's just through injury. I didn't tend to watch Man City, but when I did, I don't always remember him starting. I could be wrong. So I don't know what. And what was he for Germany? How did he get on with Germany as well? Do you know what I mean? I don't know what his international season.
Yeah, I think if you say Messi did really well with Argentina, but not as good club wise, I think Gundogan did really well club wise, and maybe not as good a country. It's kind of like that way, isn't it?
I don't know what. Gary thinks it then your shout on Gundogan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he was great last season, but it comes back to exactly what I was saying. What's a Ballon d'Or actually? Because it doesn't seem to be that people don't seem to get it for having good full seasons anymore. It seems to be like it's given out for like moments, like a Champions League final or a World Cup or a tournament or something like that. Or I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I can see that he's a good shout, but I mean, he was never ever going to win the Ballon d'Or. But yeah, no, I think I think he's a good player. Like I say, I can't believe he's really left really, but yeah, I mean, I thought he had a great season last season, but yeah, I don't know what they get given out for now, Ballon d'Ors, to be honest.
A lot of people are saying Jude Bellingham's a stick on to be the new front runner for that.
Yeah, but this is where he is, Rip. So if Jude Bellingham, if Real Madrid don't win the Champions League and Jude Bellingham continues doing what he's doing, should he not get the Ballon just because that's where I'm a bit, because he's scored what, was it 14 and 13 games or something like that? It's ridiculous, really, for a midfielder.
That video I was watching earlier was saying Real Madrid and Barcelona have the most Ballon d'Or winners, but Real Madrid's is more spread out amongst individuals like Figo, Ronaldo, Kaká, I think, as well. Whereas Barcelona's is more weighted towards Messi, but with a few others as well.
I think the year you spoke about earlier on, it was Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta were in the top three. And when Messi got the award, I'm sure he said that he was like, it's not an individual award. It was he shared it. I know, obviously, it's his award and whatever, blah blah. But the fact that those three players were in the top three, that shows you how good a season Barcelona had at that point. I remember him saying that he was sharing the Ballon d'Or with those two guys because he wouldn't be the player he was if it wasn't for them, which is probably true to a degree.
If Messi and Ronaldo weren't around, Xavi and Iniesta probably would have had like at least a couple of Ballon d'Ors each. Really, like they were that good.
Well, Paul, I'll ask you the same question. How about Colin Shout then? Gundogan.
It's one of those things. Like he was a good player, a good team, but it's like what we're saying. Like because he's not a flashy 30-goal season wonder. I think he was industrious and he did come up with big goals in big games at the right time. But you know what? I'd probably take him over Haaland as well.
Hey.
To be honest, when you think about it, like Haaland did do a lot of good finishing, but I do like Gundogan as well. He did, like I say, come with a lot of important goals at the right time. So I've swung my opinion.
Paul doesn't back me very often.
I don't.
We hate Haaland.
Yeah. So going on from Haaland being one of the contenders for the Ballon d'Or, Gary has a wee segment on Haaland because he's broken a couple of records recently. I think he's the fastest to 50 goals in the Prem. I think last night in the Champions League against was it Leipzig they were playing? Red Bull Leipzig guy. He's the fastest to, was it 40 Champions League goals or something? Beating Ruud van Nistelrooy in like half the games. Yeah. But Gary, I'll let you take away this one. There you go.
No worries. So obviously at the weekend, Haaland scored his 50th goal in 48 matches, which is the quickest ever in Premier League history. So I'll just read out. I've got the top 10 out here. Up here, sorry, and I'll just go through like the sort of top 10 and how long it took them. So got second place to Erling Haaland is Andy Cole, and it took him 65 matches. Then Alan Shearer, 66 matches to get to 50 goals. Van Nistelrooy was 68 matches. You get Torres, 72 matches, and he's joint with Salah and 72 matches to get to 50 goals. Aubameyang, 79 matches. Aguero, 81 matches. Thierry Henry, 83 matches, and he's joint ninth with Kevin Phillips on 83 matches. So we're talking like almost 20 games quicker than second place in terms of Andy Cole. So I think he's obviously come up a bit on the podcast so far, Haaland, but I thought it'd be good just to talk about where you think he will go down in terms of the great Premier League strikers of all time and where he sits already, in light of the fact that he's got to 50 goals so quick, quicker than a lot of some of those strikers you would say are some of the best strikers ever to play in Britain, probably. Not probably, they definitely are, and he's done it quicker than them. So I think for me, it comes down to what you think a striker should be, or what you rate in a striker. So you get some people that just say a striker's job is to score goals. If the person that if he scores more goals than the rest, then he's a better striker than them. And then you've got the flip side of that, which is where I sit. That it's not just about goals. There's other things, link up play and other attributes that strikers can bring to the table that matter more. So, like for example, Thierry Henry is my favourite ever striker to play in the English Premier League. No great love of Arsenal or anything like that, but I just thought he was just unbelievable back then. I thought he did things that you'd make you want to watch football, whether you're an Arsenal fan or not. You'd want to watch to see him play. He was one of those players. So even though the goal scoring record might not be as good as some others, I think for me he's the best striker ever to play in Britain, or certainly in the Premier League era for me. I think there's an inevitability. Haaland's a great goal scorer. I think you can't deny that. I mean, I think I read earlier when I was looking up these stats. I think he got to in the Bundesliga. I think he got to 50 quicker than anybody else had as well. I'm not sure if that's 100% right, but I'm pretty sure I read it somewhere on Twitter. And at a young age as well, he was playing in the Bundesliga, who's kind of one of the top 5 leagues in the world. So I think whatever you think him, he's obviously one of the best pure goal scorers we've seen in a while. And the stats kind of back that up. I think there's other aspects of his game that probably aren't up there with some of the other players that would get mentioned there. And I think the team he's playing in as well is a big thing. I think, Colin, you said you'd score 15 goals if you played in Man City's team. So I'm just reading some of the strikers on that list. Like you imagine like a Van Nistelrooy or something like that in the Man City team now, or a Andy Cole or a Aguero or something like that playing in this Man City team. You kind of think that would some of these players be able to do the same and get there as quickly, playing in like a well-oiled machine with people like De Bruyne coming up with so many assists a season. So yeah, that's my take on it. I don't think he's up there with some of the ones on that list yet. I think he'll probably be the top goal scorer in time, but for me, still not in the same class as a player and as an overall striker as guys like Henry, Bergkamp, and others. So yeah, just what do you think, Colin? I'll go to you for your opinion on it.
I've got a wee thing on Andrew Cole. I remember hearing it in I think one of those Gary Lineker podcasts. I don't know if it's all of his goals or just his first 50, but I think it's at least his first 50 goals, if not all of his goals. None of them are penalties for Andy Cole.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Haaland has scored a lot of penalties in addition to a lot of tap-ins. Sorry.
Just
But what do you make of that then? Like, without the penalties, if he wasn't the penalty taker, it probably would have taken quite a bit longer to get to that. I know it's still a goal, but maybe not scoring as many in his open play as some of the other people on the list.
Yeah, it'd be quite interesting to see that, like on that list, how many were penalties for like the other guys as well. You'd imagine a few of those guys were like the main penalty taker for their teams, but probably not in all cases. Also, as well, I think Andy Cole's a really underrated player when you say something like that as well. Like,
I agree with you in the sense of like he's obviously going to break all sorts of records. I think Alan Shearer's kind of nervously looking over his shoulder on that one, but my personal feelings on it aside, he's just not. I don't know if I don't really look back on this era of football as fondly as I know we all kind of share that love for like the 90s and the 2000s. But when I look back on my life, I'm going to remember Henry. I always loved Drogba as well. Even guys like Adebayor, like he was mental and scored some cracking goals. Robin van Persie, Bergkamp, like you mentioned. I love Van Nistelrooy as well. So I'm always going to be a wee bit more biased towards like the 90s and 2000s because it's when I first got into football and I think you're always got that wee bit of nostalgia for these things. So, but I think on the flip side of that, he's somebody that the kind of current generation, the ones that are in school now, will remember, along with the likes of Mbappe, etc. But I don't think he'll be as fondly remembered as like an Henry in terms of those compilation of like watching a compilation of his goals wouldn't be as exciting as it would watching like Henry or even the Man United boy at the weekend, Garnacho.
What a goal.
So yeah, I think he will break all sorts of records, but he's not somebody I'll look back on in years to come and be like fondly remembering him. And that's because he upset my pal's boy.
Yeah. He'll probably go to Real Madrid anyway at some point, I'm thinking as well, before he gets to that record actually.
That's my 2 cents. I really like Alan Shearer. He's absolutely hilarious on that podcast. So I hope he doesn't break Alan Shearer's record.
Yeah. What are you thinking, James?
Part of me thinks that Haaland's overrated, but at the same time that he's a goal scorer. So strikers, you're judged on your goals, aren't you, as a striker? I think that's what they pay for. Goals win you games. At the end of the day, you score the goals, you win games, right? But the modern day football has changed so much. You touched on it, Gary, that you're talking about link-up play, now, and he doesn't bring much else to the table as other strikers in the world do. And because they do that, they don't score as many goals. So it's a catch-22 situation you've got here. So Man City have obviously thought to themselves, we've got superstars out in the midfield, in the wings, they can close the ball in and put it in a plate for him, you score. And that's why he scores. Whether the penalties are no calling, I don't think it matters, because at the end of the day, you still have to score the penalties. Whether it be a penalty in the first minute or a pressure penalty in the Champions League final or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't really matter in my opinion.
It was more just picking up Andy Cole's achievements, because I'd heard he never really took a penalty. Do you know what I mean?
Totally, mate. In terms of looking back at that list, was Drogba in that top 10, Gary?
No, he wasn't in the top 10, Drogba.
I'm shocked at that. I'm probably more shocked at the fact that Aubameyang was on the list, because he was dog meat, so he was absolutely dog meat.
Drogba wasn't as prolific. I don't think he was more just like an all-round powerhouse rather than like really prolific.
And that's what I was about to say there, because Drogba's all-round game was phenomenal. He bullied defenders. He was able to link up better and that sort of stuff. I don't think Haaland will be there long, to be honest with you. I think he stole my thunder a wee bit, Gary, that you'd be off to Real Madrid at some point. I don't think he'll be around long enough to break any records that's going to worry. I don't know how many goals Alan Shearer's got. I've attacked my heat, so I don't know, but I don't think he'll be there long enough. If you're lucky, he'll be there maybe next season and then he'll go, because I think he's quite ambitious at the same time. So he's pretty much won all he can with Man City. They'll go off the World Club Championship, whatever it is, wouldn't they? So that's in the new year.
Shearer's got 260 goals.
Right. So he's got a wee while yet, isn't he? But I don't think he'll be there long enough to get there. So I don't think he's got anything to worry about, Shearer. So I can't believe as well, Henry, like how long it took him. But I think as well at the same time, his all-round game was about bringing players into it, and rather than scoring them and being selfish enough to score himself. Do you know what I mean? I think you remember that Henry's still a great penalty taker.
Did he not start off as a left winger?
That's what I was going to say. Something's telling me he was a winger when he first came.
He was a winger.
Yeah,
he was for Monaco. You played for Monaco.
Juventus as well.
Aye. So he actually I'm pretty sure he played with John Collins at Monaco. I could be wrong there.
That's right.
Aye. But he was a winger, and he came in and obviously did his business as a striker. So I still stand by my point. I think Haaland's overrated. I think there's just too much hype about him, and I don't think they're long enough to break any significant records. It's good he's done this. I can't take it away from the guy. You know what I mean? So well done him. But I just don't think he'll be long enough to break any significant records. And if he improved in his all-round game, then you might win the Ballond'Or one day. Who knows?
Yeah. Paul, what's your thoughts on it?
Haaland, I think he is an absolute beast of a guy, but I think last season when he scored like the majority of his goals, I think everyone just kind of got caught in the hype of it all and thought, "Oh Jesus, this guy's scoring goals for fun. We're not going to be able to stop him," kind of thing. But I think this season he's been found out a little bit more. Like teams seem to be able to nullify him a lot better this season, because I'm definitely feeling that my fantasy team he's not giving me the same output. It's just poor. So yeah, I think as well, like see the modern game, I think it's just that kind of perfect storm, just because the kind of player he is. But I think see if he was playing back in the day of like Henry and teams like that, like defenders were just like defenders, pure and simple. They'd like, just kick you about, stop you at any cost, kind of thing. I think it was probably a lot harder to score back in the day, whereas now defenders are more, they want to be more like ball playing defenders. So I think the art of defending has maybe lost that wee edge that it had. So Haaland can get away with a lot more. And like I said, like VAR and stuff's in it as well. So everyone's in a mix-up. So like goals that may not have been goals back in the past are goals now. Penalties are getting given that not you wouldn't necessarily got back in the day. I think it's just a kind of perfect storm of things that he's getting the advantages of. But like you're saying, I think he will move at some point. Maybe join up Real Madrid with maybe Mbappe, I think the rumours were. Because I think now he's starting to get found out a wee bit in England. We're certainly seeing it in the international stage that if you man mark him at the game because you know he's the only threat, then you can pretty much stop him. Like even a daddy like Jack Henry could man mark him at a game. So I don't know. But like you're saying, his all-round game as well. Could it be better? Yeah. But he's got such a good team around him that he doesn't really need to bring them into play. They bring each other into play, and then he just needs to finish it off. So I think he's just reaping the benefits of just a kind of perfect storm of things that are going his way. But I do rate him as a player right enough because you need to have the quality to finish his chances. Because you've seen like players like Darwin Núñez at Liverpool, like an open goal's not a given.
I think as well at the same time, you've kind of mentioned that him playing for Norway highlights his flaws a wee bit because there's no superstars in Norway, I don't think.
Odegaard.
Overrated as well. I think
You just hate Arsenal, Man United, and whoever else it was.
No, so if Norway had a decent team like they did, then the output of Haaland would be greater. But because they don't have that, then they depend on Haaland a wee bit more and probably a wee bit more pressures on him. Like there's no Norway in the Euros coming up.
Do you think if they had Jordan Arisa and Morten Gams Pedersen putting the balls in, they would get some goals?
Bring back Torre Andre Flo, mate. That's Torre Andre Flo and Haaland up front. That's what I'm saying.
Yep. And since we're talking about Haaland and we're talking about Euros, young Erling Haaland is not going to be in the plane to Germany, unfortunately. Shame. Boo-boo. But one team that is the Scotland national team. And we've come up with just a wee challenge towards the end where we are going to pick our own squad of 23. We've all done our individual teams. So we're just going to go through them all, kind of goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, striker, and talk about who we've picked in those positions. And then maybe see if we've matched up, see if there's any debates, see what craziness Colin is going to put in here for no reason.
I'll say before we get into this, see when we think about Scotland and Norway, the first thing that comes to mind is that Chris Elawumu missed that sitter against Norway years ago.
Oh, I blanked out of my mind.
Do you know what I mean?
I remember him. Aye. I always remember the clip with you and Cameron and Alan Ruff.
Yeah, Real Radio.
Aye.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Yeah.
He He was the precursor to Darwin Núñez.
Was he not another one that wasn't actually Scottish, like Quaggy?
Yeah.
No, Chris Milner's from like Coatbridge.
Is he?
Yeah, I met him once. I think he played.
Who did he play? Who was it he played for in England?
He played for a lot of teams down south, but no, he was
Probably because he
definitely
played.
Scottish.
It's probably because he played in England. I thought he was English.
Okay. Right, Scotland squad playing to Germany. So we're going to start off with goalkeepers. I think the requirement is for 3 goalkeepers. I think it is. So I went for 3, and so Gary, do you want to start us off with your 3 goalkeepers?
Yeah, so Angus Gunn, the first one, obviously. So I think he's kind of nailed the starting of the number 1 jersey down. He seems to be the guy that Clark picks, and seems a pretty good goalkeeper to me. So Angus Gunn, Xander Clark at Hearts, and then Liam Kelly seem to be the other 2. I will caveat by saying, no, I think if Craig Gordon gets fit and plays for Hearts again, I think he could be a surprise inclusion in there just for his experience. And I think I could see Clark picking Gordon if he was fit, but I don't know where he is in his recovery. But yeah, as it stands, Gunn, Clark, and Kelly are the 3.
Fair enough. What about you, James?
I'm probably going to go with Robbie McCrory. I'm going to go
I knew
with.
you guys say that.
So Robbie McCrory, definitely. I think it's important to bring this young blood into the Scotland camps. Go with Angus Gunn, and I'll go with Liam Kelly. He's an ex-Rangers boy as well, so I'm going to go with him.
So who's your number 1 going to be here?
Well, I think we need to get to Angus Gunn first of all, and then McCrory will be the deputy.
So the guy that kind of get a game for Rangers is going to be the backup for Scotland, right? Got you. I like your logic. Colin, let's see if you can top that.
I was a lot more balanced than James. I didn't put Robbie McCrory in because he's not playing. I've actually got the same 3 as Gary. Angus Gunn, I don't really know a lot about. Was he at Norwich?
He's still
Norwich, yeah.
Norwich. Xander Clark, I've always quite rated. I wouldn't actually mind him as a Rangers number 2 or 3. I think he's always been a good goalie. He looks like a totally different guy since he shaved his beard, though.
He's a Rangers fan, by the way, as well.
Liam Kelly's one I think we should have maybe held on to, and by all accounts, I think he had a great game against Celtic on Saturday. Gary,
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I mean, we were wrong.
So I think he's a good keeper. I don't really know a lot about Gunn because I've not watched a lot of the more recent Scotland games, but he seems to be the established one. So go Gunn, Kelly, Clark in order.
Fair enough. My 3, I've gone for Gunn. I went for a wee wild card in Gordon because I think even if he's not 100% fit, I feel like he brings a bit more to the table than Xander Clark and Liam
Davy
Kelly.
Marshall.
Nah, he's retired, mate. So I went for Gordon, and my 3rd choice is Kelly. I wasn't convinced by Xander Clark in the last 2 games against Georgia and Norway. I feel like he made a few mistakes and some questionable, like some of the saves that just weren't convincing to me. I think him and Gunn are just night and day when it comes to goalkeepers, and I think Gordon is a step above Xander Clark, so I'd probably drop him out and take Kelly because I'm just not convinced by Xander Clark at all. So that's my 3 goalkeepers. So it's a kind of majority we've got on Gunn and Kelly being there, and then me and James have got the wild cards and McCrory and Gordon.
Do we not need to decide though who we're picking though? Should we not make a wee collective decision?
A year and a half.
It's our own individual team, so you can take your team to Germany and my team to Germany. It's just what we want.
Let's make a team.
No, we don't want to upset anybody. We did that the last time. We upset too many people. So I'll be the pilot of my team. You can be the pilot of your team. We'll do that.
Fine. I don't fancy my chances of piloting a plane though, but okay.
Yeah. Right, on to defenders, which we are probably the most strongest department. So do you want us to go again? We'll just do it the same order. So Gary, do you want to hit us with your defenders?
So are we doing centre backs? Are we doing full backs first, or just all in together?
Just across the board.
Right, okay, so I've got 2 right backs on the plane, Hickey and Patterson. I think kind of pick themselves really. 2 left backs, Robertson and Tierney. And I think one of Clark's best, or one of the biggest successes of Stevie Clark's time as Scotland manager, he's found a way to get them both in the same team when they're both fit. I know Tierney's not just now, well, neither of them are actually, I think they're both injured, but I think that's been, I think a few Scotland managers struggled to get them into the same team before Clark came, and I think he's found a way of doing it that works, with Tierney sort of playing in that sort of more inside role. And then for centre backs, I've got Ryan Porteous, Grant Hanley, Scott McKenna, John Souttar, and Jack Hendry, who I don't actually rate, but Clark seems to pick him, and he seems to be sort of well integrated into the setup. So I think probably not to upset something that seems to be working. I think he'll be on the plane.
Aye, nah, I get it, especially when you're playing the 5 at the back. He seems to thrive in that. So very solid picks. James, is it you next? Yeah.
Aye.
It was me. I
Is
think.
it Robertson in the team now, Gary?
Sorry?
No.
You put Robertson in your midfield?
No, Robertson was there, 2 left backs.
Sorry. Right, how many? So 2 right backs, 2 left backs. How many centre backs do I need?
Well, I've put 5 as well. Aye.
4.
And I've
5 centre backs.
5 centre backs.
4 centre backs.
Tierney's a left back and a centre back. So I've got technically 4 centre backs, 2 left backs, and 2 right backs.
Right. Okay. I think we need to start exercising the rules that we can. Don't it doesn't really happen because the UK and that there's a kind of gentleman's agreement, but I need to exercise the rules for James Tavernier to be placed in this right back.
Why not?
I was joking aside.
Talking about folk to score a lot of penalties.
Scotland don't get in the box a lot, do they? They don't get penalties. We're going to go with Patterson, the right back. I was going to say Young Divine, but I'm not. I'll stop with the jokes now. Patterson, Hickey, so the same as Gary. Left back, I'm going to go with Robertson, and probably
Anyone but Tierney.
go back to the left backs in a second. Centre, 4 centre backs I need.
Aye, if you want. Aye.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Souttar. Souttar. We'll go with. No, I don't watch Scotland. So McKenna, how has he been?
He's not getting a game for Notts Forest, and he's not even in the squad. But he played the last 2 games in a 4 at the back, at centre back, and he was decent. He was solid.
Right. Okay. Scrap him then. I'll go with Liam Cooper at Leeds. And how many?
That's 2 you've got. You need another 2 centre backs and a left back.
I thought I said 2 days ago and said it was pish easy.
I had a Rangers team at me. I was only kidding on. I'll go with Jack Hendry as well then, and Ryan Porteous. Left back, another left back.
You're just trying not to use Taylor or Tierney, aren't you?
I need to pick one of them. I'll go with Tierney.
Kind of leave the big man out. So that's pretty much almost same, just Liam Cooper, isn't it, instead of McKenna, almost. Colin, what is your defenders?
I don't like going after Gary because I've got the exact same 8.
That's fine then.
You need to down countdown then, mate. You need to show a bit of paper to the host.
I'll just tell you a wee bit, but Robertson's a great player, although injured, so I don't know when he's back. Tierney's obviously highly regarded as well. Again, I don't know when he's back.
He was on the
Porteous,
bench for Sociedad the weekend there, so he's
I
close
forgot.
to coming back.
He's on the
Forgot he
bench.
went out on
What did
loan.
they play for Sociedad? Was it?
He was on the bench. I think he
Oh,
came
was he?
on, but
I
he was on the
didn't realise.
bench.
That's good.
Porteous, I rate. I wish Rangers had signed him, to be honest. Like, I didn't like him as a guy, but he's a good player. We can't deny that. Patterson, again, Rangers link, good player. Hickey's quite well regarded, although made some mistakes. Suter is a good player, but his fitness is a bit dodgy, so I actually had a wee question mark around him before I picked him. Henry seems to do quite well for Scotland generally, and McKenna, I thought he was getting a game for Forest, but he obviously isn't. So I don't think the defence is as strong at centre back than it is at the full back positions. I think maybe a bit weaker in the centre just by what's
Yeah.
available.
I think we can get away with. See if we play Tierney, I think we can get away with it because we play a 5 at the back, so there's strength in numbers. I think when we play a 4, we look a bit more exposed. But I've got the same 8 as you guys: Patterson, Hickey, Hendry, Porteous, Tierney, Hanley. I done Hanley / Suter because Hanley's just coming back from a cruciate injury, so not sure when he'll be back. So Hanley / Suter, McKenna, Robertson. So we're all pretty no big surprises in there.
I don't think there's a great choice in certain positions. It's not like England where they've got 20 good players for each position. Do you know what I mean?
So we're on to the midfield show. Gary, what you got?
So I think this is where Scotland are strongest. I don't think it's the defence. I think it's their midfield is actually the best part of the team. But cause I think we've got actually quite a good few players in there. I've got McGregor, Callum McGregor, Billy Gilmour, Scott McTominay, who's obviously doing really well in that kind of position further forward, scoring a lot of goals. John McGinn, Stuart Armstrong, Lewis Ferguson, who's tearing up Serie A by all accounts. Ryan Christie. And then I was kind of split between Ryan Jack and Kenny McLean. Now, I think Kenny McLean's been a better player for Scotland than Ryan Jack, but I think I'm going to pick Jack. Reason being is I think he probably gives you something a bit different. I think he's more a defensive-minded midfielder, and I think we might end up needing that in some of the games. So I don't think he's a starter, but I think he might be someone who does a specific job for the team in certain games. So I think Jack was my last midfielder. But yeah, that was me.
Gary, I knew there was a reason we were friends despite your allegiances.
Hey, I'm balanced, man. I'm nothing if I'm not fair.
What about you, James?
I'll try and be fair. How many players do I need in the midfield?
8.
8.
Aye. Ryan Jack, Scott Wright. Right, so Ryan Jack, definitely. I'll go with John McGinn. Billy Gilmour. That's 3. Scott McTominay. 4.
I love how you have to count them down because you're trying to avoid certain people.
Lewis Ferguson. 5. It's getting tricky. Stuart Armstrong. We'll go with. Does Ryan Fraser play?
He's not been playing for Scotland recently, but he's started at Southampton again, hasn't he?
Right, okay then.
Got away from Newcastle.
Right, I'll not pick him. I'll go with Kenny McLean. And is it one more I've to pick? Is it? Ryan Christie.
Oh, no Callum McGregor.
Just don't think he makes a team, mate. He's still my playing.
He's flung out the door with a parachute. Colin, yourself?
So this is the one at section I think is a bit more interesting. Maybe the strikers as well. So I've got Big McSauce.
Yep.
I started by just putting down all the players that are definitely going. So McTominay doing really well. John McGinn's a great player as well for Aston Villa, who have won. I don't know. They've won like more points than any other team in a certain. I don't know what the time spell is, but they're one of the form teams in England. Billy Gilmore, who burst onto the scene for like the Euros and things like that, and is been starting to get a wee bit more game time, I think, with his new blonde haircut. Lewis Ferguson, who Rangers should have signed, definitely. We'd be banking 20 million from Juventus if we had. So he's obviously doing really well. Stuart Armstrong, I always thought was a decent player, particularly when he went to Southampton. That was a bit of a classy player. I put in the boy Anderson that's converted to Scotland. That's like a plays for Newcastle.
That's right. Aye.
Oh, the boy that turned up for training and said, "Nah, I don't fancy this, and I need more time."
Oh, is he not playing after all? I've got him there anyway. I just did a bit of research and obviously it wasn't right. I wasn't sure on Ryan Jack because of like he always gets injured when he goes to play for Scotland, so it was a bit of a. But I put him in because it was either him or what's his name, Paul's boy, Kenny McLean,
boy.
And I just wanted to annoy Paul a bit with that one. And you joked about it, James, but I don't joke about it because I rate Scott Wright. I think he's a good player, and I don't think Scotland have a kind of traditional right winger in the squad.
I know. It's just like he's getting enough game time now. But I think he's going to become a good player under Clement. I think he rates him. I'm
putting Scott Wright in, and I just like James. I can't let Cal McGregor on the plane. I just don't like the guy.
McGregor. Wow.
I let a few in. Let's say Henry,
Armstrong, if it was 11 o'clock at night and we were all in the pub, I would get this kind of talk, but there's no excuse for this. This is shocking, man.
We can see who the reasonable ones are here, right, Gary?
Yeah. I know. I just wish I didn't go first and I never said Ryan Jack.
So on
James did put Christie in and Tierney and Armstrong. So Gary, come on, head out the gutter.
I think James just panicked though because he couldn't figure out the numbers.
Credit when credit's due, Gary. Come on.
Fair play.
So in my midfield, I'm leaving McGregor at home. McGregor's first on my team sheet. So I've got Billy Gilmore, McGregor, Lewis Ferguson, McTominay, McGinn, Armstrong. I've actually got Ryan Jack, and it was a kind of toss-up between Kenny McLean and Ben Doak. I think if Ben
don't make this suspenseful, Paul. You love Kenny McLean.
I do love Kenny McLean, but Ben Doak, see if he gets a run for Liverpool, he's like kind of something different. Like we could possibly need that kind of maverick in the pack because McLean, as much as he's good, so like he actually done well in those last two qualifying games. He got a couple of assists and really impressed me. But I feel like if we're going to take anyone out of midfield, he's maybe the one that I would take out to fit Doak in. It's between him and Jack. Because I think Doak could be a real superstar if he gets a run of games at Liverpool. It just depends if he does. If he doesn't, I would just take Jack and McLean. But that's my midfield. And then
to that boy that moved to Real Madrid. He's like a young striker, Harper or something, was it?
Oh, years ago, yeah. I don't know what happened to him.
Was he not like 16 years old when we were like 12?
Yeah, what's his name? Gold at Dundee United as well.
Oh, he's in America.
Ryan Gold. Yeah.
Aye, he's in America now. He's just. I think he's maybe going to Canada to play.
Yeah.
Do you know somebody who's never did John Fleck ever play for Scotland? Because he was pretty decent for Sheffield United in the Premier League.
I think he did get a cap, aye.
Yeah, he could get one or two, aye.
Yeah, he's a shout actually. Like I don't know if he's still decent, but he could be not the worst shout.
Yeah. Right, on to the final position. where we are so abundant in goals, it's the strikers. So, Gary, do you want to hit us off with your, is it 3 or 4? 4 strikers? 3
Yeah,
strikers?
I've got
I've got
3.
4. Wait, how have I
I've
got how have I got 4 if we had 3, 8, and 8? Have I miscalculated?
I've probably miscalculated. I think I should have a 4th in there. I've got Che Adams, Lyndon Dykes. Obviously, they've been the ones that have been playing most of the games. But I think third one's Shankland, because I think he's actually the best finisher we've got. I think he's the most likely to get us a goal. I'd actually quite like to see him start and for Scotland and see how he does, because it's not as if we're, I don't know, Scotland teams of the past that done well were quite defensive and trying to just be solid and didn't create many chances. But I think we do create chances. Even against Spain away, we were like getting the ball forward, and so I think someone like Shankland could actually do well in this Scotland team, because I think he is I think he's a better finisher than the others, like a natural finisher. So yeah, I think he's got to be on the plane. But the other two kind of pick themselves, I guess, because they've been the two that have been playing for the past few years. But yeah, that's my 3.
Do you not have a 4th then?
No,
no, to be fair, I said
short.
I said 4, and I've actually made an asset and I've miscounted. So I've got 4, but I should only take 3, so I need to take some to it.
Wait, how is that? There's 8 and 8, 16, 19 plus 4 is 23. Should be 4.
8, 16, 4, 20.
3 goalies and 2 8s.
All right, maybe it's fine then. I just miscounted again. Never mind. Math.
So you got a 4, Gary.
I've got
9 defenders.
Oh, there you go then.
So that's where it comes from. Yeah,
that's fine. So, what about you, James? What's your strikers?
Kenny Miller.
Paul Dicko.
Lawrence Shankland. Go with him. I think he's got to be there. Ollie McBurney. Go with Shea Adams. I see they went at Shea Adams. Southampton.
Aye.
And I suppose it's got to be Dykes, isn't it? I don't really like Shea Adams or Dykes, to be honest with his players, but I suppose they've been there, haven't they? They've got the experience. So I'll go with they two. Ollie McBurney, definitely, and Shankland.
Fair enough. Why McBurney, definitely?
Why did you pick those two, James?
Well, McBurney's a good player, man. He's all round. He's got good pedigree and that. Can't get a straight face. I think you know the reasons why I picked him.
To be fair, you didn't break any rules. Yeah, you've done the task.
I've done the task. It might not be as straightforward as I thought it would be, but I've tried to be as balanced as I could.
Hey, Colin, what about you? What's your final 4?
Okay, so Lyndon Dykes, I think, is pretty decent. I think, again, I've said this a few times, I think he's one Rangers probably should have snapped up when he was at Livingston. I think he would have probably got a decent amount of goals at that time. Shankland actually crossed out Adams. Like, I've never seen him do anything good. Like, anytime I've watched him play, he's not scored and doesn't really do a lot. So to me, we could do a lot better if there was options. So I actually put Nisbet in, who was highly regarded at Hibs. I don't know if he's done much since he left, but I think he could do better than Adams, who I know he's more just that kind of lone fronting workhorse kind of player, but I've not really seen him do much. I had the boy Jacob Brown in at Luton, who scored at the weekend, but I don't really know that much about him. And this wasn't actually a joke, and it's a coincidence that James picked him as well. When I was looking at that list of players that have been capped by Scotland, I actually didn't realise he was eligible for Scotland. So I actually do think he's a pretty decent player. I think he's actually been doing okay at Sheffield United. He scored a few goals in the last few weeks in not a great team. So yeah, I went McBurney, Nisbet, Shankland and Dykes.
Well, I think we can safely disregard the
Does that mean
You're
McBurney
good.
makes it because he's got 2 votes?
He's not there playing.
We'd have a
Plane's
good
going
party in
down.
our plane.
Right. Okay. So that's the kind of mad. So
Well, what's
this
your...
was a bit of a mad sandwich. It was like me and Gary, and then you two in the middle just going. "Bleh."
Well, what's your... Do you not think Ollie McBurney's got some decent credentials? Premier League player, scoring goals.
Anytime I watched him for Scotland, it looked like he was pulling a trailer behind him, man. He couldn't even run
Adams
for
is...
shit.
I've never seen Adams do anything good. I don't watch all the
Scored one
Scotland
goal
games, but
against Denmark. that was it.
See Dyson Adams. I think, like we're talking about Haaland and what he brings to the team. I think they're like reverse Haaland. Like they don't get the goals, but they bring in a lot more. They bring a lot more to the team. Like they're like Dykes is good at defending set pieces. Plus, he brings a lot of the midfield into play. That's why you get so many goals from midfield, from like the McGinns and McTominays, because he's like laying them off or harassing defenders for like 90 minutes. I think that's what they bring to the table.
You say McBurney couldn't do that?
No, I think McBurney would just be wandering about and looking to fight somebody.
McBurney's at a higher level than Dykes and Adams, but
It does,
Yeah.
but I just anytime I watched him in Scotland shot, he just didn't look like he was bothering a job, man. He just didn't look like he was trying, and he just didn't. He just didn't do it for me. Anytime I watched him, I was like, he's just bringing nothing. Whereas Dykes and Adams will run their heart out for 90 minutes and give you.
What if McBurney scores a barrel of the goals and then you've got Adams and Dykes still doing what they're doing at the clubs in the Championship? I mean, you've got to go in form, haven't you? No matter what they've done.
If he was doing that, if he was scoring like a barrel of goals in the Premier League, then I'd maybe have him in the squad. But he's not doing that right now. He scored one last week, but I think he hadn't scored like one. I think he scored one in like 15 or something like that before that. So I know like McGinn, Dykes and Adams are the same, but I just feel like overall play they bring more than McBurney does. But that's just me. My other two are Shankland and Christie. I didn't put him in my midfield. I took Christie and put him in my attack. I think he links up well with Dykes, and I think Shankland deserves a chance because he's such a natural goal scorer. But yeah, it was quite interesting because I thought some of you might have put in the three Newcastle boys that have been kind of tipped for the
Gordon,
Harvey Barnes, and Livramento.
do you not think Barnes and Gordon could probably play for England though?
Yeah, they probably
Particularly
will.
Gordon.
I don't pick them because I don't think we'll get them.
I don't think we'll get them either, but I think even if you could get them, would you bring them into Euro squad so late in the game that could upset the rest of the squad? Like, they've all been there together, and then you're starting these two people in. They're going to take two people out that have been there for the whole thing. Is that going to upset the apple cart? And then possibly the whole thing's just going to fall down from the inside?
I think Barnes and who was it again? Barnes and Gordon. Would be a good, strike up a good relationship with McBurney.
Well, I think it would make a good segment in itself, like people's thoughts on like it used to be quite a rare thing that somebody who wasn't born in the country played for the team, but it seems like there's a whole scouting network out there trying to find people who have grandparents that make them eligible. Because there was the whole thing with Laporte. Was it Laporte that was French, but then he started playing for Spain? I can't remember what the reason was. What is your kind of general views on it? Do you think just you try and get the best talent you can get, or do you think it should be more people who always wanted to play for Scotland?
Well, we can always keep this on the Seismic Son of War. But personally, I think if you're good enough and if you have the desire to play, like you show that you want to be part of it and you have some sort of allegiance to the country. Not like, because like see McTominay, like even though he has like an English accent, he's like Scotland to the core. Whereas when you like somebody like say Anthony Gordon come in, and just because the Euros are coming up and he doesn't think he'll get into the England team, he'll just think, oh, get a few games here, that'd be great. Just use it as a platform rather than wanting to play for the team. You know what I mean? It's a hard one.
Would they even be interested if we weren't in the Euros? Probably not. So
exactly, that's the point. So that's one of those fine lines
to discuss.
Yeah, I think some players just want to get capped because I think it inflates their transfer value and their earning potential and things like that. If they can say they're an international player, I think it drives bigger money. So I think a lot of players are.
Unless you play for Scotland, then your money goes down.
Yeah.
It's a
But
shame that McCausland is Northern Irish and not Scottish, because he could have been another good option, because also he came through the Rangers Academy.
Or is he part of the Northern Irish diving team, is he?
Good one.
Oh, anyway. Well, I think that's a good place as any to wrap Seismic Cinema number 3 up.
Seismic Cinema, eh?
Soccer.
It's like the man, give it a break, I'm tired. So, Seismic Soccer number 3. Quite enjoyed the topics of discussion, except for the financial fair play. I thought it was boring as shite. Get on. So yeah, if you want to never miss another episode like this, because it's been an absolute cracker, you can follow Seismic Cinema and Seismic Soccer on Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And subscribe, follow on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just anywhere really that you listen to podcasts. It really helps us, gets us on the algorithm, and more people can find us and listen to us gibbering about football for an hour and a half. And also, if you want to check out our website, like I was saying, James is doing a good wee job upgrading it, getting it fit for the future. Go to seismiccinema.com and you can find all our older episodes, and you have some bonus episodes in there for them, or just one or something, I can't remember.
There's one that's hidden on Spotify for podcasters. It's our interview with
Jeff
Menapace.
Menapace.
Yeah, the author, American author, yeah.
And if you want to help James and Gary get some good mics, some good tech, and just help the channel, allow us to keep producing content, then you can go to Buy Me a Coffee /Seismic Cinema. And yeah, that is us for Seismic Soccer number 3. Colin, Gary, James, thanks for joining me, and as always, thank you for listening.